Hello, Scott.
Hello, what's up, Steven?
Good morning.
Good morning, my man.
So today we're doing something a little fun for you guys out there in the chat and watching this on replay because this will be available as a replay. This morning I'm hanging out with Scott Flanders, the shape carver himself.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
We're going to be doing a little bit of a design challenge, talking about what's important in shape design to communicate. I am Steven. You can find me across different socials, this little tag here, and that's the only time I'm going to mention it. Scott is doing something pretty cool over on his Gumroad right now that is going to be starting in September, I believe you said?
Yeah, September 3rd. It's a new workshop coming up, Intro to Shape Carving. So it's something I haven't done before. A lot of the stuff I've done is focused on like creature design or character design or silhouette. But this one, the idea is just to focus on communicating how I think about shadow shapes. Just a lot of the stuff I've shown online. Some of it, I think I sort of take for granted, that people are just, understanding what I'm doing. And I don't think that's always the case. And yeah, so this time I'm just going to do a deep dive on all of it.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to find out more about that, there's a link pinned in the chat. There's going to be a link in the description below. They're all over the place. Scott, I'm going to go ahead and start showing the thing that you're working on here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you're going to be taking a little bit of feedback from the audience here. We're going to be making some xenomorphs, talking about what's important to communicate, what isn't important to communicate, and how to kind of make things work. There's a reason that we recognize that little guy in the corner is in fact a xenomorph. It's
because of his cigar.
It's got to be because of the cigar.
This was like a really goofy demo I did at a school I used to teach at a couple of years ago. And there was something about it when I did. I was kind of just joking around, and I was trying to just communicate those ideas that Steven just touched upon. Like how is it that you boil something down, something complex and classic, iconic? How do you boil it down to its like simplest attributes? And I just really quickly sketched this in. But there was something about it that really made me chuckle, and I just kind of use it every once in a while. But the reality is that it actually it points at something really important. Is that like most of the really big, exciting, most famous designs, there's something about them that makes them memorable. Usually it's something to do with shape. And in the Xenomorphs case, we all kind of know it's this big, giant. I saw someone in the comments leading up to the live stream in the YouTube mentioned something about, the human phallus or whatever. And that's like, pretty much true. It's pretty much true. But it's not just, when I was a kid, I never looked at this thing and thought, oh, look, that's a bleep, that's an eggplant. I just thought that's like a really weird, it was just an iconic shape. It just stood out so much,
Yeah, it took me ages. If you're not looking for something, I think I was like 12 by the time I finally realized the back end of the bell end of the Xenomorph's head.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit.
Well, it's interesting. I put together, the interesting part is not that I put together a sheet. It's
no, actually,
I was thinking about that in lead up to this. We're going to talk about the sheet more in a second. But I saw something on Instagram this morning. I was getting ready, making my reference sheet, got my coffee, started doing some sketches and stuff. And I came across, I don't remember, I apologize. Shoot. I'll like repost it in my stories so I give the account.
The person who put the chart together?
Yeah, it was someone on Instagram, but this is pretty neat where they put together this sort of like chronological list of the different head designs and showing how they look. And, it's really pretty interesting because Aliens, the Jim Cameron one, that's the one that most people are like, oh, that's the exciting action one. That's the most like badass one. But it's pretty funny because, you see these like cool, there's these like ridges on the, like as you go up the crest that make it look kind of scary. But like you mentioned, when you go to the bell end, you're like, oh man, that's the most, that's the most extreme one, like almost the most extreme one of all of them. And that to me, I never noticed that because in that movie, it's like the most exciting and, it's like the most like badass of all of them, Anyways, so, it's interesting to see here because look, the main silhouette is a pickle, right? Except for the deacon. The deacon is basically like a talon or a claw, which is cool. It was a cool shift. But all the rest of them are basically these pickle shapes, or like this is basically look at this. This is like a dune. This was like a dune sandworm or something, like or like a goofy, or like that giant worm that pops out of the asteroid in Empire Strikes Back or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
Anyways,
true. it
Sorry, you go ahead.
it still maintained its look. For anyone
Yes.
who has seen Alien Romulus already, please feel free to talk amongst yourselves in this one. Try not to give any spoilers to anyone, though. Like you can still talk about it.
Yeah, like let's hear the thoughts. I haven't seen it yet. Those movies, like man, I went and saw, Prometheus and was it No, it wasn't Covenant. Or no, it was Covenant. I
Yeah,
can't
Covenant's
remember.
after.
Yeah, okay. Those two, like I like this stuff a lot, and
Mhm.
in my career, I designed a lot of monsters and creepy stuff. However, I'm kind of a sissy when it comes to those movies, like jump scares and stuff. Like I get kind of
Mm.
anxious, and like it's not. I prefer to watch them at home, right, where I can get
You
up
can
and
cover your face every
put it,
once in a while.
yeah, not feel too embarrassed, like in public, being like.
Yeah.
Anyways, I love this stuff, and I haven't seen that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, it'd be interesting to just hear people's thoughts, like if it was cool, if it was worthwhile, if there were any new contributions to the movie. I heard there
Mhm.
was a lot more focus on the what are they called, the face huggers this time.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Yeah, and
Yeah.
even like it was funny during Comic-Con because Proko went to Comic-Con like we do. Uh there was a panel that they had and they gave out all of these face hugger like cheap face hugger toys to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So then after the panel ends, I guess people didn't really necessarily know they could get these things. So people got extras. So there are people just walking around with like 10 of them, just like strapped onto themselves, basically, in all these different spots.
That's cool, and actually got me thinking this morning, like part of what I want to do, guys, and what I want to get your help with is generating some ideas. We're gonna like type them out up here in this list in a moment. But one I was just thinking of was um, something that like in a xenomorph that would be covered in like a bunch of face huggers, like almost like clinging under its body, like a bunch
Okay,
of baby. Like you ever seen like a
Mores, Remores? What is
yeah,
it?
like oh that's cool. Yes, I was not thinking remorse, but that's cool. I was thinking of an emperor scorpion.
Okay, uh-huh.
Have you guys ever seen these?
This is the key part in every stream with Scott.
It's true. Sorry, I was trying to do too
Open
much
up
of
the
it there.
Google. No, this is not a bad thing. This is a key step in ideation.
But I used to have one when I went back to live at home after college. When I graduated college, I wasn't that good of an artist yet. Had to move home. I was working as a ranger and doing a bunch of random stuff, and I ended up buying this emperor scorpion, and she had babies, and it looks disgusting and awesome. They all like ride on her back, and I left for the weekend. I'd read that there was nothing I needed to do. The babies would be fine. But then I came back from a weekend out, and all the babies were gone. And I looked it up, and apparently, if like the mom doesn't have like a ton of food, I guess like she'll turn around and eat her babies. Anyways, that was super gnarly, and that gets me thinking right now. Like, what if there was something like that? Like, we have a kind of there's the queen, but what if what if we played with some different version, a kind of a commander or a brood mother or something
Mhm.
like that. So I'm actually just going to write that in right here, and you guys
Yeah,
will kind of
absolutely.
get a feel for what I'm going to be asking you to help me do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited when we get to that part of the process here. You guys have to come with your best ideas, all right? All of you who considered leaving while seeing creepy scorpion images, stay.
Ooh, sorry about
We'll,
that.
we'll
Yeah.
work together.
Okay. I won't do that anymore. Okay. Here we go.
At the end of it, we'll brush over it. Like we're killing it with fire. It'll be okay. It's fine.
Yikes. Okay. Um, So, anyways, this morning I started to do a little bit of warming up. That's pretty important part of my process. Just trying to get going on things, and did one that's just like a little more humanoid. There's a sculpture that one of my friends, Alec Brubaker, did a couple years ago. We would do this event called Monstober, where we sculpted monsters every day in October. And
Mhm.
his xenomorph design, it's on his Instagram. It had like three, I believe, it either had two. It was like either a boomerang head or it had like three crests, uh, which I always thought was pretty clever.
Mhm.
The xenomorph head in general kind of lends itself to, it's always just, the single pickle. But like, what if you did like hammerhead pickle? What
Yeah.
if you did, there's just like a lot of ways this thing could go. Anyway, so I did that one. And then one thing we'll see, I may just want to do this one because this one excites me a lot. This idea, I think it's really fun. We'll see if you guys come up with something better. But this month on the social medias, it's a Smogist,
Mhm.
where a bunch of artists do those like you do like a different dragon design every day or something like that. In my Discord, we're actually doing Smogus right now. And I do a thing in my Discord called Artists in Residence, where I'll have like a guest artist come and sort of be the star of the show for the month. And one of my friends, Allie Irwin, is our artist in residence this month. And she's doing some dragon design work over there.
Hell yeah.
But
Do you post about this on your Instagram?
Not as much as I should.
Sir.
It's stupid.
Is there a link to your stuff on your Instagram?
Not really. There's a link to my there's like a link to my link tree, and then it's probably too convoluted, but basically you have to go to my Patreon to get access to my Discord. Okay. I don't do like free, just like full free access to the Discord, because the idea is to make sure that anyone who's a part of it really actually wants to be there. They're not just lurking, or I don't know. I just want to keep it like people are really, kind of positive, cool, excited to be there. So it's $3 a month to be a part of my Discord. So it's pretty affordable. But anyways, every month we do a different activity, like a different community activity. You'll see over here on the left, sort of the history of how we've gone through it. And, some of them we get pretty hardcore and everyone's really involved. Some of them, are, I don't know, just people are too busy. We, are less exciting. I don't know. We've had some that have been kind of misses, some that have been super rad. This 20,000 Leagues Under the Ice, that kind of led to the indie game I'm currently working on.
A good game.
It's coming along. We're working on the trailer right now, Steven. It's just taking way longer. It's way harder than I thought to do this stuff,
It's fair. Game dev, man.
Yeah, for real, with 5 guys. So anyways, we do these different fun activities. We had my buddy Taylor Olivas was our artist in residence during Plain April. He's a really good planar artist and environment artist. We had for this month, we had Jorge Norgard, an amazing sculptor and teacher that came and worked with us and just showed off some of his process. He did a zombie warrior. And then, like I said, right now we have Allie Irwin. And this one, we're having a pretty fun month. Dragons are a hit, Just all kinds of different dragon stuff going on. And anyways, I run my workshops through here, whatever. So
yeah.
Anyways,
have you guys talked about Xenomorph stuff in there yet?
No, we haven't. Like literally just kind of, I don't know. I was trying to think of something to do. Well, it's kind of related to, for one thing, Alien Romulus was coming out. And then one of my buddies, this guy, Spiridon, online, I've mentioned it before, his handle is Spirit Dude. He does all kinds of cool art books and stuff. And he was doing one recently. I'm not sure what the status of it is, but he's doing like a Geiger. I don't know. Is it Giger or Geiger internet?
I've always gone with Giger because that's every time I watched interviews or anything, that's how they would end up saying it. And it was so consistent that I was like, that's got to be it.
I mean, he's German, right? Or
something like
Swiss
that.
Or something.
European of some sort.
Yeah, the Germans or the Swiss tell us. Anyhow, he was doing like a Giger tribute art book. However, there was a really interesting and challenging sort of, what's the term? Like, not a footnote. Shoot, I don't know what the synonym, I don't know what the right word is. Basically, there was some consideration you had to keep in mind, which was that you weren't allowed to use anything from any of those films, like the Alien films.
I see.
Because they didn't have like the rights to do that. So it was something that it had to like evoke Giger's work without doing a Xenomorph. And I'm realizing like that's pretty fucking hard, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was working on something here, and it's just still a mess, a work in progress. Crazy. It's looking not. I don't know. I'm not stoked on it at the moment, but
I think like don't get me wrong, like you have to iterate on something,
Yeah, there's been some iteration, but basically it's turning out more like I'm trying to do a tribute to Sergio Topi or something like that.
Oh.
Anyways. But so I've had Giger on the mind, and then the Romulus thing came out, and then it just kind of works. It sounded fun to do. So anyhow, yeah, I've done some warm-ups, feeling kind of ready to go. But I thought it would be fun if we run you guys through some of this process, which this is, I don't always do it just like this every time I start a project, because realistically it does take some time. But when I'm teaching, this is something in order to like formalize the sort of process that I run through in my mind. We do sheets like this so I can share it with other people. This is what I'm doing, but it's just kind of going on under the hood. This sort of, in my Monster Lab course, I refer to it as you're taking a look at established precedents. Okay, so you're like looking at what has come before to understand what you could do in the future. Anyway, so that's what we're doing here. So xenomorph creature notes.
Could you zoom in on it a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Our question is, what do we know about them? What makes a creature a xenomorph? And these kind of questions, like this is basically the way I run, speaking of those workshops, I do one, it's coming up in the fall. It's designing monsters. I did designing monsters last fall. That's like probably been, that one and designing creatures have been my favorite classes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 3D, like a sculpting element to them. But we talk about like, what is it that makes a creature a creature? Or what is it that makes a monster a monster? Like, what are the differences between those two ideas? And it's really the same kind of analysis, you know, that we do in that class. That's what we're doing right here. So what is it that makes a creature a xenomorph? I already went through some of what I see as like the kind of some of the obvious ones.
Mm-hmm.
You guys feel free to chime in here now, if you could, please, in the comments. I left some openings over here to add anything that I might have missed. But to me, one of the key things is they're scary. And not just scary, they're like malevolent. They're wicked. They're things that almost like evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not just like, there's something about them. It's not just like an animal hunting you. There's a difference between, you know, a tiger doing what tigers do and a xenomorph doing what a xenomorph does, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the ideas, bioorganic, I'm sure some of you guys are thinking about that. Me and Steven were talking before the call. That sort of overlay of design details is synonymous, or has become synonymous, with Giger and his work, this bioorganic stuff. And to kind of put a, I'm not sure, just to really break it down or to simplify it, to my mind, it's this stuff. It's this like hoses and cables and wires. It's that look. I was talking to Steven, you know, if I just zoomed in on this and cropped it like that, you wouldn't necessarily know that it's a xenomorph. Like it could just be a part of some like nest of wires and hoses in a, you know, a dark corner of some weird, you know, warehouse or something. But that to me is like a big part of it. And also the material qualities, you know, that high polish, you know, you have that big sort of visor, almost like a car windshield or like a vehicle on the head, you know, or like a cockpit on a spaceship. No eyes is something like I've noticed in like almost every design. There's no eyes, even in here, you know, when you see through to the human skull, right? The orbits, they're empty. That might be an interesting thing to play with. That could be an interesting angle. But so far, one precedent I've seen is there's no real attention given to eyeballs. Which is a kind of a risk, right? Because there's like this kind of classic idea that, you know, eyes are the windows to the soul. They're kind of an important way to communicate that something is angry or malevolent.
Yeah. I do think that for that one, that's also one of the ways that you also gauge emotion from something. And that's a way to make something scary, is if you can't read it with eyes, eyebrows, or things like that, you know? I think that adds to it.
Yes, I think you're right.
We do have some things here from a couple different chats.
Okay.
So Lucas over in the Twitter chat did bring up biomechanical organism. Like he hit that one before we got to it.
Perfect.
So yes, Lucas, we agree.
Thank you, Lucas.
Another person in the chat saying he's from Switzerland. I'm not going to fact check that at all. Let's just say, yeah, from Switzerland.
Did he say Giger or Geiger? Did he tell us?
I think I feel pretty confident on Giger. If anybody wants to try to refute that one, please feel free.
But so the person commenting is not from Switzerland.
No, they're just saying
commenting is saying that he is from Switzerland.
Yeah, Giger. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
Or HR. So we got a couple people saying some things here. All right, the phallic shape.
Okay, got it. So in this case, I'm just calling it eggplant head.
Yeah, I like the pickle that you're going with.
That's probably better, huh?
Yeah, pickle was funny.
Dude, that'd be funny to do a comedy one, like a silly one, like Pickle Rick Xenomorph. You know what I mean? Like take that, like make it green and put the Pickle Rick thing.
I'm okay with this. I like this idea.
We'll see if we get to it.
They said the acid blood. That's an element that you could work in.
Yeah, acid blood for sure was a good one. That was important.
Someone brought up I misunderstood them to mean my typing, but the clicking sound that accompanies a xenomorph. They said warrior pose, skeletal appearance.
Clicking sound. That's interesting.
Yeah. I think those are the main things that
When
we
you
got.
say warrior appearance, what do they mean by that? So one thing I'll do in all my classes, workshops is it's always, I will typically sort of like press a little bit, poke at the student, like, what do you mean by warrior pose? What do you mean by
Yeah.
that? The person who dropped that comment, if you could expand, or all you guys just expand in the comments.
Yeah. Tell us, Hema. Let's see. They said lots of drooling saliva.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the saliva. It's like I did it even in the sketches. Saliva. It's true. Watch, here we go to.
They
I
do
didn't think of that.
they do like the extremities seem spindly at
Oh
times.
yeah, spindly. Yeah, Simon Lee arms, dude. Spindly Spider Zero arms.
I think the one thing that I would say is important that's not from this chat is that it always looks like if at any point in time any part of the alien body moved, like rubbed up against you quickly, it will cut you.
Interesting.
Like the tail just has those
dangerous
spines.
edges. Yeah.
So Haymod has not said anything yet, but
okay, that's okay.
Amaterasu here. Thank you for deigning to join us, Amaterasu. Says stance as if they're always about to strike. So yeah. And they'll be on like a little bit of a lag from us, so we might get some more. But if you want to move forward with these,
okay.
I'll bring some up.
Those are great, guys. The always ready to strike thing. It's true. They all are always kind of crouch. They're always. I think that's part of the malevolence too, right? Like communicating that something scary. Is it always? You're right. Like look at all these references down here. So, I apologize, but I don't have the names of all of these artists. But this is a bunch of amazing reference, really cool shit from films, concept art, collectibles, comic books, video games, just a lot of cool stuff in here. That's one really fun thing about the Xenomorph as a design is that there's this kind of like dragons. The dragon has this like really long history of creature design across time where thousands of people have contributed to the conversation of what it means, what a dragon means visually. And a xenomorph is a sort of like a new version of something like that, where it's so iconic and such a sort of important potent part of our pop culture that like almost every artist has done a xenomorph at some time. And actually I haven't really, besides that little silly guy from the past, I haven't really drawn too many xenomorphs, I realize.
There was one that Ethan brought up here, which I do think is pretty key to the xenomorph and kind of it goes along with everything else. He says they also behave very feline, which is very, very true. And I think that's part of their malevolence. Like a cat will kill you and not care about it. It'll do it with the full ferocity that its body and instincts can do. And it doesn't care that it did it at all afterwards. That's also a xenomorph.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But again, there's, when a cat does it, this is an interesting question. This is the kind of thing I'd do in the classes. So, when a tiger does it, I don't think you would say that a tiger is malevolent, not when out in nature. They can be angry, but when you look at the xenomorph, when it's killing you, there's something about like let's just actually ask the question: what is it about the xenomorphs? When it attacks you, why does it feel more evil? Like, what are the visual parts of the design that make it feel more evil? Let's just start there. What are the visual aspects of the design that make it feel really evil?
Let's see what we get. I will say, I don't think a tiger does a thing and is malevolent about it, but I think a house cat, absolutely malevolent.
little Toby or whatever.
Yeah, like Cheddar. Cheddar's gonna just rip a mouse in half, but a tiger's like, this is survival.
Nova.
Yeah,
I had a cat named Crockett.
It's good. Let's see.
I don't want to hold this up too much. So maybe I'll just jump into it.
Yeah. Go on through. Let's see what comes up.
To me, it's this right up here. It's some humanoid elements. Like that's like one of the key parts of making something feel malevolent or evil or disturbing to us as human beings. When you add the human element, suddenly that thing is attacking you is not just an animal; it is a murderer. When another human attacks like a human, when it's after you, right after innocent people, it's taken on malevolence, right? It's become something like truly evil because a human ideally, right, like knows better than to do this kind of thing, right? Where an animal does not. So as soon as you start adding human elements, this thing becomes like cruel, wicked. It has intent, you know, it's evil. So it's these little human bits they add in there. And some of that comes through in a place like this in the skull really clearly. Some of it comes through in the, you know, the dentition, the teeth, right? They're not doing like shark teeth, not doing lion, tiger teeth, not so much. These are like human teeth. And they do, and that's a purposeful choice. And sometimes it's mostly in the anatomy. So like, look at that arm. That's essentially just like a human arm for all intents and purposes, you know? So anyways, okay. Let's get into more of the ideas now, guys. I don't want to hold this up too much. I have a tendency to do that. I want to get to drawing. So what are some themes that we could explore here? How might we play with this design?
So
the idea is we want some weird kind of fresh angles. Remember the last stream we did? It was about visual hooks. That's another good place you could start. What are some fun hooks that we could throw in here?
We had one earlier from Anthony, and he said he mentioned it carrying the face huggers in its mouth like a crocodile.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then Austin Rhodes said 2 mouths. The little one bites chunks out of your face. I think that was them just talking about key elements.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was going to become something else.
Yeah, the little evil baby mouth in the mouth. Yep, that's up there. Okay.
But
one thing I could think of was 2 heads. Like there was a sculpt I did a couple years ago during that Monstober thing. Alec did one, I did one, but another year I did it was Monster Xeno. So instead of Monster Zero, like 3 heads King Ghidorah, it was Monster Xeno. So it's like a 3-headed Xenomorph Hydra. So you could do like 2 heads. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Noah Buff said Xeno Tank in the chat.
Oh, that's fun. Like a that could mean a lot of things. Does that mean like a hard surface vehicle, or does that mean like a beefy one?
I'm choosing to take this in the video game sense, like a big beefy boy, a damage sponge.
Okay.
And then Atarva in the chat saying horns on its head.
That's cool. I like that. What else? Let's go for some sort of, you know, I have like Brood Mother here, Pickle Rick. Let's sort of step back from because we're going to run out of our list here and I want to get going into the art. Let's move beyond just the sort of visual hooks, just like the simple shape ideas, and let's move to sort of like more like themes, you know, like the Brood Mother or Pickle Rick.
Okay.
So just go to like, I remember there was this, like as an example, there was this line of toys when I think it was like my 9th birthday. And it was, I got a BB gun. I got this really sick alien toy. And that on that birthday, O.J. Simpson did his thing, did his terrible thing. Or, you know, I don't know, allegedly. I was like outside shooting my BB gun and playing with my Xeno toys. And all the adults were watching O.J. Simpson, like, you know, in his Bronco. And I was like, huh? Like, just like, I don't, you know, who cares? What about
you're out shooting BBs. You're like, I don't care about what this guy's doing in his Bronco.
But the point was like, there was this really cool line of toys that took animals and basically applied like the Xenomorph virus to them. Like this one was really cool. The bull Xenomorph. They're kind of hard to find. Do you remember these?
They had crazy lines. I have a few of these that I love.
Yeah, there was like a panther one. I had the rhino.
Yeah, they really started exploring it based like after, you know, you had like the dog in the movie and everything. Like they started branching out to anything.
Let's see here. Xeno.
Let's see. So there were people saying a few different things. I don't know if this plays into what you're looking for, but I'll go ahead and say what they got. Tom Doing Art mentioned centipede, multiple legs and upper body arched back. He said another one, centaur style, horse human mixed with insect. And then someone else in the chat, Val Thorne, saying a more fantasy version. That's not necessarily like a
that's kind of what the dragon thing. Yeah. And I mean, we'll see if we get, you know, maybe some of these elements we put into a dragon, we'll see. But okay, what else? So more fantasy. What else could we do, guys?
This one, you take this how you will. This might spark something. Jtavo in the chat said a kamikaze xenomorph runs towards a target and explodes in acid. There's some implications there that you could take.
Yeah, maybe the one with the face face huggery thing or something. Like imagine one that has these little face huggers all over them, but it can kind of like use them as bombs or something. It can kind of assign genetic like attributes to them or like manipulate them in real time. Like say in a video game, right? Like you know, this was like a sort of RTS unit where you could change the abilities like in your skill tree, and you could send out some, and you know, like zerglings that blow up and stuff.
I'm imagining like the mouth part, like the protruding mouth is more like a little thing that's a spitter, and so it spits something that has like a pheromone, and then so all the little exploding babies then go to that. Let's see. Marcus, no, we have not watched Romulus. Scott has it and I have it. I'm supposed to go see it this Friday. I have heard specific things about the movie that I will not tell anyone in this chat.
I'm gonna wait till it comes out because I basically have no one to go see that with. You know, I can't take my 9-year-old. I'm not taking them to see that shit.
Scott, just come watch it with me.
So I have a good excuse. Yeah, I'm gonna stay home and wait till it comes out, and then I can. I don't know how I can hide in the shelter of my place. What else?
So we've got. I'm gonna do rapid fire here. So kaiju scale xenomorph, poison frog skin color, Lovecraftian features, breathing an acid mist. Face hugger face as an adult xenomorph.
That's interesting because remember the Pred alien kind of had it actually had some of that.
And then dragonfly wing xenomorph.
You know, if you think about it, because they did the little predator, you know, it's almost like the crab
like with the fingers
stuff from Half-Life. You know, that's a cool design. The Pred alien is really cool. I think.
Let's see what else we got. I think those are the main things.
Okay, we'll stop there. Face hugger as face. Okay, cool. Those are pretty good. Thank you guys. I'm going to export this real quick. And I like to do this kind of thing. Always have.
Because of this stream, when you say export, it's actually just export to keep with like the xenomorph theme.
Oh. Okay.
If Scott ever says export or any words with X, please imagine them in the style of the word xenomorph.
Okay. Cool. I got to export this out. I know a lot of people use what's it called, Pure Ref and stuff like that these days, and that is fast. You know, it's faster than the way I do it. But personally, I like to have this like artifact that's useful for presentation, where I can add type. You know, I can crop it, like just have it. It's like ideal for sharing with people. I've used this kind of thing a lot in teaching and a lot in just like in the workplace. You know, say you want to pitch a character design you're going to do, or you know, some new take on something, and you're just it's, to my mind, it's much more effective to be able to use, you know, not just the art, but also the power of language. You know, I kind of start there, and I'll touch on what I see as sort of the most important points. Then I'll share some references that I see that are, you know, they're secondhand, but they sometimes they kind of point at something emotionally that can be hard to capture maybe in the early stages of the art. They might be hard to capture in general. It's just about like stirring up a feeling. And then I'll take my sketches. And sometimes that plays out a little differently. You know, it's not, you know, in this case, I was like kind of throwing some ideas into the pot for the champ team. There's some cool guys over there that they were kind of open to other people at Riot throwing in ideas. And I threw in some ideas for the Pantheon reboot. And, you know, I had all these ideas, like had all this crazy reference. My initial passive pencil sketches were pretty janky. So I kind of knew, you know, there wasn't enough there to really like capture the feeling. So then I did some like little silhouettes. So, you know, it's not some kind of hard science, like must have pencils or must have silhouettes. It's just, you're kind of setting up you're creating a document that allows you to really quickly bring people on board with like what you're seeing, what you're imagining.
If someone does want to find out about your process for this, they can see a lot of that over at proko.com/monsterlab.
Yes, true. And, you know, September's coming up, which means October's even closer. So I like to, like every year, this time of year, Halloween's coming up. It's a good time to talk about the course, the Monster Lab course that I did with my friend, Alec Brubaker. Really proud of the work we did there. It goes through a lot of my process, the way I draw and think and design and use shadow shapes. And Yeah, check it out. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get into some Xenomorph stuff here.
All right. So what are the main considerations you're going to go into this with for starting, for beginning your ideation? What do you think is the key thing to hit to build off
Really
of?
the head. Look here across this page, just sort of intuitively, what did I start with? Like what's on this page? When I was just chatting with Steven briefly when we started the call, in every case, it seems to me like almost in every case when someone's starting off as Xenomorph, one of the part that they're most excited to get to, that delivers the most like bang for the buck, is the head. You know, it doesn't have to be the head. In my monster class, we talked about this kind of thing in relation to like a unicorn, like what was necessary to communicate that something was a unicorn, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's the horn. Oh, it's white. And the thing is, the reality is that it's all those things together. There may be some elements that do more of the heavy lifting, but it's about all those things as they come together. The Xenomorph isn't just the head, right? Because you could change the head, like I'm showing here. You know, we could do one where the Xenomorph head changes, you know, quite a bit. However, if we make this thing have, you know, this sort of humanoid rib cage and these long arms, long skinny arms, and you know, and we do the big like vertebral spikes, and we have the second mouth, and we've got, you know, hanging drool. You know, it's when you bring those elements together, you can get away with really changing that first iconic element, right? If, say, for example, if I wanted to do a really different body, say our tanky guy Noah talked about, I want to do something really odd. I don't know. Let's do something weird here, like some big beefy arms. Right, something really not that you would not typically associate with Xenomorphs. Okay, then it might be more important to really do the head a little more conventionally, right? If I also have the head being really weird, then maybe this becomes some crazy shit for Monster Hunter or whatever, right? But in this case, if I want to do this weird sort of gorilla, calicothere, giant sloth, you know, upper body, then maybe I really got to have, you know, that more classic Xenomorph head.
Yeah.
It helps me kind of get away with taking liberties in other places, you know.
I think you have to make sure that one part of the thing is still there and still reads.
Yes. But okay. I think what I really want to do here, I want to do a Xenodragon, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay with
that's
that?
what we're
Yeah,
here for.
flex around
If
with
you
it.
guys don't know about the thing that's brought us here, we don't need to go into it a whole lot, but you can find out more about it in the link in the description, here on screen right now, and in the chat. It's pinned up there.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Okay, so I've been watching a lot of House of Dragon, and I've got one of my mentorship students, Braden. He's super into House of Dragon and dragons. He's just like all about dragons, and all the work we're doing together in his mentorship is about dragons. Kind of a young guy, so we're focusing on a lot of like shape design and just like improving the stuff he's doing over there. But he's got me excited about dragons. Usually dragons are they're not something I get as stoked about because they're so, you know, they're everywhere, you know, they're everywhere. And I've seen a million people do really sick dragons. You know, Drogon, in my opinion, is like the coolest dragon that's ever been done in film. And it's
Interesting.
like,
Okay.
what do I got to, you know, what the hell do I have to do with dragons? Like, you know, they did it. It's awesome. And so it's not something I do a lot, but you know, this month with Smogist has got me kind of excited. And again, this idea of like doing like a kind of a Xenodragon, like that seems kind of fun. So we're going to start there. Now you may notice, you know, I'm kind of doing things a little bit differently here. I'm not doing as much.
This is not shape carvification.
Yeah. So I'm being naughty, but I'll do some in a minute. You'll see. But you know, I mentioned this before, I think in the last stream. Sometimes you just, you know, I've done so much of the lasso tool thing that sometimes you just want to do something different.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at a lot of Topi, you know, I mentioned I was working on this like Geiger tribute thing. I was looking at Topi for like compositional inspiration, and then I ended up just kind of making it. I mean, you know, I guess it's not exactly like Topi, right? He's like friggin' the best. But that started to kind of like leak into the work, looking at a lot of draftsmanship and cool hatching, and I just been looking at a lot of cool black and white work, and it's got me hyped. So
okay,
it's just sometimes it's fun to just
you gotta mix it up because sometimes it like if you just use a different pin one day, you get something different. It's important.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So for this one in the chat, if you guys have any thoughts about how this particular like the shape that he's got going at any given moment makes you feel about something, please feel free to mention them. We know that you guys will be on a little bit of a delay, so it won't be like the fastest thing, but we'll see. Try to respond to these. You guys are getting to see the sausage get made here.
Some of them, I think the queen at least has like the second pair of arms. If Charlie was around,
there's another in there. Yeah.
It's looking like a Parasaurolophus right now. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I don't. For that one, I leave that to Charlie. Xenomorphs, I can do. Oh yeah, someone in the chat did bring up that. Yeah, this is actually just a Proko kangaroo. Is what you're doing right now?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. This is a Proko kangaroo. So here's a little pouch.
I think this is still actually closer to being a kangaroo than what Stan drew.
Here's its baby. Kangaroo has bigger hind feet, really big haunches, and the feet go out really wide here. So, and they're a little more vertical.
Biblically accurate kangaroo.
That lower jaw pokes out a little bit. Big ears. But we're not doing that, okay? Don't test me. Don't test me, internet. I'll kangaroo the fuck out of you guys.
This is great. You freaking nailed it.
Okay.
Compare and contrast that with Stan's kangaroo, everyone out there.
Okay, here we go. So let's see here. I'm gonna try to work quick so I don't get, I have a tendency, you guys have seen if you've watched any streams of me before, I can get pretty obsessive and silly with this stuff. So I'm gonna try to move a little quicker through some of these sketches, just try to like block in some stuff, and then we'll choose one that we think is kind of cool and kind of worthy of taking to the next level.
Yeah, there's definitely some different things that, because of knowing that it will be related to aliens and xenomorphs and everything in general, that kind of pair along with the different things that you'll do. So for the dragon here, I imagine there being, like a hoard, like this like clutch of eggs that it's hoarding, rather than any sort of gold or anything like that.
Oh, that's cool.
There's some like immediate things that come to mind here. Matt in the chat here, or Matej, what if the tail had a second mouth? You can imagine that at the end there if you want that. Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. You have. They said that you passed the kangaroo test, and
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You freaking nailed it.
Okay, so I don't like that one this much though, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Or actually, I'll just shrink
it. Yeah. Importantly, not actually gotten rid of, just hidden away to work on the next one. Because ideation, you don't want to just dump things away. There's actually a comment that we got. So someone was saying that in their sketchbooks, they liked this video that we had posted where someone had a really good sketchbook. And they said that in their sketchbook, what they do is that they end up like hating all the drawings and they tear a bunch of them out. And so they have like 2 pages left in the sketchbook. A sketchbook isn't necessarily meant to be a thing that you show to everybody. A sketchbook is a place to play. It's a place where you can mess up, explore. And all of those things that you draw, even if you don't like it in that moment, later on, like 2 months down the line, 10 years down the line, you open it, you look at it, and you're like, you know what? That one thing that I drew, that was pretty sick. I'm going to use that for something now. But if you tear them out and you get rid of them, you don't have any of those ideas. You did that work for literally nothing ever.
Yeah. There's, you hire different artists to solve different kinds of jobs, and some artists, like the way they work just really lends itself to making gorgeous sketchbooks. It's just the way the cookies crumble, and some of us, that's not the case. And I'm not like that. So, my sketchbook is like a notebook, and there's a lot of, a lot of writing. Crap, how do I do this? Okay. Yeah, a lot of writing and notes and things are really loose. However, like these really loose drawings, if you think about it, that is just all I'm doing is focusing on the silhouette. I just haven't filled it in, but I'm doing tons of iteration until I find the right shapes. But my sketchbooks are, they're just a working, they're a tool. They're just a tool to explore and to fail and to be free. And typically I don't really show them to people on purpose because that's it sort of, it's how I maintain that freedom and low stress, I remember really, this has been something I've experienced like most of my life. You go to a place where there's a gathering of artists, and it's funny. There's a sort of a thing that can occur where artists, they sort of like, can I see your sketchbook? Like, can I see your sketchbook? And they like look at your sketchbook, and they'll kind of like look at it and be like, "Oh, cool, man," and pass it back to you. And it's sort of like a way of artists establishing the pecking order of who is the coolest artist here based on your sketchbook. And so I kind of refuse to just play that game. I'd be like, "Nah, can I see your sketchbook? Nah,
no, you can look at my Instagram."
Yeah, this is my sketchbook. This is for me. This is not for you to feel good about yourself. So, I say, use your sketchbook in the way that works for you. Personally, I think.
Yeah, I will say one person here in the chat. You did this for a very good reason. But Pie Bite in the chat said, "I don't show my sketchbook to people," and then you showed your sketchbook to people.
I know, because again, it's
important.
It's to try to. It's for you guys. It's for students.
Teaching moment.
Yes, the teaching moment. Exactly. That's right. And I didn't show you everything, so there's worse drawings in there. I chose some that were like slightly less terrible.
So we're still going with Xenomorph and the dragon theme.
Dragon, yeah. I want to kind of play with, like one of my favorite birds is a blue heron, and I really like the way, their neck can kind of like really fold up and kind of compress into this like S curve. And so I'm interested in exploring something like that here on this particular one I'm going to mess with right now. Maybe some of that, almost like a gullet, or a dewlap like you get on a like a iguana, or a pelican, something like that.
Little waddle jibbly bit.
Yeah, waddle. Yes. Yes, a waddle jibbly bit.
This is the Latin name. I don't know if everyone knows that. Yeah, in the chat, Marcus here said, "Don't treat your sketchbook like a portfolio." Exactly. They have different names for a reason. They're separate things.
Well, I mean, you can. That's the thing. I don't really think that's the right way to say it, because, like, I mean, a guy like a Kim Jong-gi or a Rembert or Karl Kopinski, like, there's like a large part of their brand is built around that, right?
I can find out about this. One moment. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Rembert, a guy like that, like, that's like his bread and butter, is making his sketchbook look gorgeous. But that's sort of like who he is, and it's just like, that's like where his passion lies, is doing that kind of work. That's like literally like his business, his brand, his love, all of it. And that's not, always the case for all of us.
All right. So Rembert's in a meeting right now, but we'll get his statement on sketchbooks right after.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Rembert's book. He came out with a really nice book recently.
It is indeed a good book. I got to see the actual final version of it. It's good.
He's keeping keeping it alive, man. He's keeping the sort of Kim Jong-gi, the spirit of the, of the artist that can manifest something out of nothing alive.
Keanu Steve in the chat. Yes, this stream will be available afterwards. Just like all of our streams, we keep them around. The only thing that goes away is if we have a 24/7 stream. But I got really good news for you guys about that. We don't just do those on YouTube anymore. We do those on Twitch now too. If you guys follow this link, there's a brand new thing that we've got going. You guys can watch Proko 24/7. That's secret. Shh, we'll talk about it later. How do you feel about this one here? This has definitely some differences here.
Yeah, it has some differences, but it's just, I don't know, not special. It's like I'm basically just making a like a xenomorph gargoyle or something. I don't know. It's like, it's okay, but
okay. Do you think that so the combination of the long neck and long head, do those clash at all for you, or what are you feeling?
I don't think they clash personally. Do you think they clash? Community, Steven, do they clash? I'll move on.
I don't think so. But I would understand if you chose to push one of them even more to make it stick out from the other. So if the head was the right shape but smaller in proportion compared to the neck, actually, wait, look, perfect. Drowsy Dane in the chat said maybe a longer neck.
Yeah, I'm not sure. One thing I noticed with the head, I did actually try to go make the head bigger, but look what it comes into contact to, or what it comes into contact with here. I just didn't want the sort of tangent or the overlap with the wing.
Yeah.
I mean, it could.
You want it to still read as a silhouette.
I mean, actually, that doesn't look so bad. But I'm not gonna do the lateral exploration stuff today, just because I don't want to be as obsessive.
Scott, I like the idea of it coming up more. So like the jaw, like it comes up, like it
a little
tapers.
More of the kind of underbite thing or something almost.
Yeah, like it's got like a whole lot going up in there. What's the? Did you watch Titan AE?
I have not seen that somehow.
Oh,
I know,
Scott.
not even, dude.
Dude, good designs in that movie.
I've heard that for a long time. I heard it's good in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, I love that movie. They knocked it out of the park. It should be up there with all of the other movies that everyone talks about being these like tragically passed over classics.
Yeah, cult classics. I think last time we talked about Treasure Planet or something. I'm not sure. Treasure Planet is one of those ones that's just like one of my favorites that somehow didn't get the love I think it deserves.
Yeah, that one, Atlantis, people just went right past it.
I know. Criminal.
Monsters. We didn't know what we had.
Seriously, dude.
So Pie Bite. No, I didn't see your question in the chat because you didn't start with the Q. I'm gonna sass you up because you're here enough for these streams. He said, serious question for Scott for dragon legs. Are you more looking at reptile legs or bird legs for references in your mind?
Here I'm thinking of I'm thinking of like quadruped mammals. So I'm thinking of you mentioned kangaroos earlier. Kangaroos is just like an extreme version of that lever that you get, in a quadruped leg. You get like this, shape that comes down like this. Big old calcaneus and then down to the foot. So I'm doing that kind of thing. So it's like something you might see in let's see here. All kind, like a cat. Yeah. I think cat is actually probably like the best. I tend to really like those shapes, but I haven't done as much. Cats have this like really long, stretchy connective tissue right here that you get. It's just, I'm actually not necessarily sure why it's all there, but there's all this musculature here, that kind of wraps around to the form, really strong muscles, and then you have this like extra tissue. But I'm leaving a lot of that off because I want the negative space here.
Yeah.
In the xenomorph, it just makes it look a little bit creepier.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the strengths of the xenomorph. There are times when, if they chose to have like a tendon or something that would normally kind of be responsible for that, like bat winging out of flesh on a creature, like I feel like they've just had it where it's just the tendon. It just looks like a cable, and there's space between the main meat of the thing and that tendon.
Yeah. I wanted to show this off earlier. This was the toy I got back when I was like 9 years old.
Look at that thing.
The Xeno Rhino, and it's so corny. Like when I look at it, I'm like, I think I got the worst one. This one. The snake is cool, the panther's cool, the rhino or the bull is cool, but whatever.
I like your parents being like, yeah, no, he'll want the one with the color. This one's good. Like, this one sucks.
I don't know. I think I actually got it from a friend. I think a kid got it for me, which is cool. Like another little kid.
He got the snake.
My parents would never have bought me a xenomorph thing. My parents were, they're not into that kind of stuff. They don't think they've ever even seen that movie. That would freak them out. One thing I want to bring up here really quick is I haven't had any reference at this time. So now I have a second monitor set up here. I'm going to bring that up so I can kind of use, I set up this sheet and then we kind of didn't look at it anymore, right? We kind of set it aside. But I want you guys to know that it's not true. I'm actually going to be using it. It's just on a second screen. I'm going to zoom in so I can start to like make sure I have something I can rely on for some of these little details as we go to the next step here. So I think I'm just going to go with this one. Again, I could probably continue to iterate and maybe come up with something more exciting, but just for the sake of the stream, I'm going to get going here. So I'm going to take this, and then, maybe some of you guys have seen me do this stuff before, the, shape carving thing. First thing I'm going to do is, bump up the value to this like gray, kind of a dark gray. Then pixel lock, and I'm going to keep that dark color that I had on. I'm on purpose, I'm not going to fill in all the negative space in the sketch at the moment, because I think it lends itself to some kind of greebly noise that we see in the xenomorphs. I'll address it later. I'll decide if I'm going to fill it in or if I'm going to leave the negative space. Like we see it here, these like dark holes right behind the wires, this sort of like pits. That's a big part of the xenomorph. This like that's what, at least that's what I perceive as this like overlaying information. It's agreeable. I think it's sort of applied in like nearly the same way that it was used in something like Star Wars. You see, used on mechs and spaceships and guns and things like that. This is, a more organic primary silhouette. The primary shape is a big alien dude, but then the greeble is applied in a very similar way to the way you see it applied in something like Star Wars. I think that's an interesting observation.
There was one interesting one that came up in light of the new movie. People were talking about the design of the xenomorph and everything, and there was some Twitter thread where I think someone had pointed out, they were like, what is this on here? And they zoomed in and they showed where there's like an actual like nut, like a 6-sided little hexagonal piece on like the hip kind of area. And then the immediate response from everyone was like, that's always been there, Chief. Like,
really?
Yeah, those elements are just in there.
That's so cool, man. To say, because I haven't really examined, but I would not consider myself the stream is not intended to suggest that I'm like some kind of authority on xenomorphs, but I do think it's useful because you guys see, like, say if I was going to like work on some project, whereas having to work with that with that property in that sandbox, I would do what I was doing at the beginning of this call, or I would do that sort of beginning analysis of what is it that makes a xenomorph, and that helps me understand what I might be able to contribute to the space. Again, shameless plug. That's the kind of stuff we cover in my Monster Lab course. You can get that on proko.com/Monster Lab.
Yeah, you can.
Fall's coming up, Halloween. It's sort of like Halloween themed course where we're designing a bunch of these pumpkin characters. I know not every country in the world celebrates Halloween, but
you guys have seen it in media. So for this one, I did actually bring up a poll for people while you were talking about the fact that you have your reference up to the side. I asked if people use reference while drawing. 88% of people said yes. 11% said no.
I don't think there's like really a right answer there either. I think like the way I'll typically do it is I'll start with no reference, because I feel like that it ensures that I'm not like just responding to reference, and I'm not like piggybacking off reference too much. I'm more like pulling from within my own mind, some of my own tendencies and tastes and preferences. And then after I've got that initial sketch, then I'll sort of, go back and look at it and decide if it's any good and get my reference and try to correct things like anatomy. But that initial sketch, not looking at reference, I think it frees me up, and it helps ensure that I come up with something that feels me, like it's authentic, and representation of my sensibilities.
Yeah. I definitely think that there's times when you can see when a person adhered to the reference a little too hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I try not to do that. However, there's sort of there's potential there's cons to that, is that, say, sometimes I don't know, I maybe spend too much time going in circles if I don't really understand, if I don't have a lot of information about xenomorphs in my visual library. That's why I made sure, I have some stuff, in my mind about them, but maybe about as much as we see here. Like that's what's in my mind and my visual memory about
that's the overall.
Like, if make xenomorph do this, run this algorithm, but so, that being said, that idea of, drawing from imagination to try to make sure you hit something that really is like a more authentic reflection of your sensibilities. I think that's only relevant if you have stuff in your visual library related to that matter. If you go to sit down and draw dinosaurs and you don't know anything about dinosaurs, you're going to be in trouble. And so in a case where I come across something I've never drawn before, I make sure I do a lot of research I gather a lot of reference. I'll do some warm-up sketches, and that's exactly what I did today. So, did some little warm-up sketches, did like a little Xenodragon sketch because I've just been excited by that idea. Did that little, that other guy sketching, and that, they're not amazing, but they got me to a place where, like, psychologically, I didn't feel like I was going to have a kangaroo moment. You know what I'm saying? Much love, Stan. I mean,
yeah, reference can be important sometimes.
Yeah, it can be important. Like, you gotta kind of put in that when you go to do something you never done before. That's when that stuff can happen. Like, no great athlete or musician, most of the time, they do not go into a situation just, with no rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's no difference for us as artists. Like, we shouldn't expect ourselves to go into a situation we've never been in before. You wouldn't expect a guy that's like a creature designer, and that's like all they've done for 20 years to go in and design like a really sick car.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they could do it, but
But still.
Yeah.
There was one thing you were talking about, the spaces where you were going to make sure that there were detail in places where there weren't. Keanu Steve here in the chat asked, when should you imply detail and when should you actually draw the individual detail? I think personally, it's when something is a focus. There, you should really like knuckle down and really show the thing in full. But the rest of the time, you can kind of imply it. But I don't know, for you, what do you feel about this?
Yeah, that makes sense. It also depends just what stage in the process you're at. So, in this case, what we're doing is making a sketch. We got limited time, and this is sort of my personal forte. My comfort zone is doing sketches like this. So, there's I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. There's like a really cool idea. One of my former students and friends, I think Taylor Olivas, he took a class with another sort of former colleague and friend, June On, who's a real amazing artist, was a principal artist at Riot for a lot. I don't think he's there anymore. But really incredible artist, worked on all kinds of stuff, really good teacher. He's really formalized a lot of his thoughts and communicate, like just how he thinks as an artist. He's pretty cool. And Taylor was telling me about something he learned from June, this idea of, like large, medium, small, right? Like, you guys have all heard that, big, medium, small.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but what I had been told was that June said something like, not large, medium, small, but it's like big, medium, small list. And that idea of, there's the sort of, like, typically when you think of this, like, okay, gradient, like big, medium, small. However, that to me always feels sort of like boring almost when you see it in shapes, right? If I did this, like, I don't know, it feels like too formulaic or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the way it was described as small, where it's when you get to these, like, sort of some of these tiniest details, and you don't do them everywhere. You do
just
them
a little bit
important, only in important spots, and they go a long way towards communicating that something is finished, even when maybe it's not. And you don't do them everywhere. So, but already adding some of that stuff makes this feel more complex than it really is.
Yeah, like this, every person out there who's ever done any sort of like anime style drawing, when you draw a whole character and then you put in like one little like wisp hair coming off the main mass of hair, you know exactly how this goes. One little wisp is like, oh no, yeah, now it's freaking detailed. Now I'm killing it.
It's funny, I really don't understand that reference point. If I was gonna make this look more anime, maybe I'll just give it some.
There you go.
Cool haircut, dude. Do that and
nailed it.
Give him some.
I like it's Dim from Invader Zim.
You know what I mean? Just give it some little.
Is my Xenomorph?
I don't know how you do anime eyes. It looks like a fucking fish, dude.
It's perfect. It's wonderful.
Give him a cool katana.
Zerdo here in the chat said, "Good morning, you annoyingly beautiful goats." They can. I think goat can be me. Beautiful can be you. We'll go with this.
No, I think it's the other way around. I turned 40 this year.
I'm 35.
Yeah, well, every year counts, dude.
It's been a rough 5 years.
Every year counts, yeah. What's up, Zerdo? Zerdo's really active in our Discord. He's a really good guy. Been a good.
Gives you $3 to be in that Discord and gave you $5 more over here. If you wanted to find out more about that Discord, you guys should go over to Shapecarver. Like what do we actually?
It's my Patreon. So again, I don't I don't have
Patreon
my
2.6?
Discord. It's not free at the moment. It's $3 to be a part of it every month. Or once someone has done one of my workshops or the mentorships with me, then they have permanent access to it forever.
Mhm.
So it's like at that point, I've gotten to know you, and I kind of, it's like you guys have sort of invested in me, and it's like, okay, you guys can be a part of this thing. But if you're not interested in the mentorships, you're not doing the workshops, it's $3 a month. It's about it's now, what is that? Like the price of the very smallest cup of coffee, People always say it's, less than
It's a coffee.
a coffee, but I don't know if that's true anymore, dude. Not in this
Yeah.
economy. So
Dude, I have every metric for measuring a price has had to change. Like
yeah.
yesterday, we went to some place and we got these like basic ass like some chicken wrap or whatever, and for me and my girlfriend, it was like $40.
Yeah, $40.
So now a chicken wrap is $20.
Oh, yikes.
If I go fill up my car, it costs me 2 chicken wraps. It's trash.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I've noticed that my son just walked across camera.
He did.
Some of you guys, I talk about my son a lot. He's like my don't get embarrassed, but he's my greatest pride and purpose. He's like my favorite guy. He's so fun. We have the best time together. He's such a good boy. He's what I've really devoted my life to, more than my art. And
Mhm.
I think that's the way it should be. If you want to take notes as an artist and a person and a future parent, there's nothing better. There's no better character design you'll ever work on than your own kid. So I want to introduce him real quick. This is Shape Carver Jr. Come on up here, little fella. You don't have to say anything, but this is my son, Bastion. This is him right here. And go grab
Shape
your
Carver Jr.
So he's freaking good, dude. Yesterday he just got it in his mind to make some weapons out of clay. We've been into Lord of the Rings. I read him the
This
Hobbit.
is good.
Yeah, I read him the Hobbit.
Dude, I like where it looks like a chip texture, like it was sharpened off of like a breaking kind of rock. It's good, like a shale or something.
Yeah, and he like put runes on it and shit, dude. And like, so he wrote stuff in Elvish. Like it actually has like some like, what do you have? It's like a
Dragon script?
he like has some book where like this actually says something in dragon script. What does it say?
Nice.
It said beast hooker.
It says beast hooker. That's the name of this weapon because it hooks beasts.
It's good.
So I'll show him another one real quick.
Well, the other one kind of broke.
Okay, the other one broke, but that's okay.
This one broke.
And then he did this one. He did like an elvish sword. It's called Blood Swan. Look at that, dude. Sick.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, he's a really gifted artist, really good kid. Thank you guys for letting me share that stuff with you.
Absolutely.
He's a good boy. It's fun to have him. A lot of times I'll do my mentorships and stuff, and he's in the background hanging out. And then I'll end my call and I go look, and he's done like his own version of what we've been talking about.
Nice.
And he like this morning, I was warming up and I go look, and he's drawing a really sick xenomorph. I'm like, oh man, he's
all right,
really good.
I want to see the xenomorph later.
Yeah, I'll put it in my stories. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to mention too. We'll probably wrap up here pretty soon. What time is it? Yeah. If you do your own xenomorph design, if you guys drop them, like, send them, DM me, like on Instagram, or
post them to your stories, tag people,
stories, or post them on the proko.com, on the site. Just whatever, tag me and I'll share them in my stories. That'd be fun to see what you do.
So we got some positive comments here in the chat. They said Blood Swan goes hard. Yeah. It does. Shape Carver knife, dude, those are insane. And then Pipe said, I wish my dad was that proud. Dude, we're your proud dads.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
Did it.
I mean, that's literally what I do in my mentorships. Like, I realize, like, really what I do in my mentorships is like, I'm just in the business of being the dad most artists never had. That's the dad that doesn't say, go get a real job. Dude, it's like,
this is your real job, son.
It makes me laugh. Yeah. Go become why aren't you going to be a firefighter? My dad was a firefighter. He's the man. Okay. Let's see. I don't want to. What time is it? It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So right now we're an hour and 9 minutes into it. How long you think you want to go for?
I probably want to wrap up, to be honest, pretty soon. I think we discussed only doing an hour today, and I got my boy here and stuff, and
gotcha.
We got some fishing to do today.
Okay.
But let's try to wrap it up really quick though. Let's do some stuff. So if I was gonna try to make this look a little bit cooler, try to push the dragon thing. One thing I liked about one of these references here was the sort of ripped or like torn wings in this version. I don't know exactly what design this is, how this fits into the, into the canon, but it looks pretty cool. And it kind of reminds me of the King Venom, the King. There's like a recent story arc in Marvel Comics with Venom where he becomes like the King King in Black or something like that.
Okay.
And he's basically Venom grows wings and it looks sick. It's fun. Oh, why didn't Venom ever have wings? Like, it's cool. I'll show you.
I didn't know he needed them.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm so
Venom with wings. It's really it's cheesy, but it's fun. It looks sick, dude. It's like Spawn. It's sick. Look at that. Yo.
Nice.
Venom
Definitely got some
use wings.
Spawn energy for sure.
Anyways, so that's kind of cool. Initially, I was thinking, like, what if the wings were more of like sort of clunky, like you take these growths here, and they maybe don't actually have any, utility for flight. You just have these kind of like weird projections. And it looks Nebezial. I don't know this artist personally, but really cool design. Good job. That's sick. But I think I'm going to do the sort of like mummy tattered wing thing, and that's a good spot where you can go in and do some of the sort of shape carvy stuff here. Again, so I'm teaching a workshop coming up September 3rd, Intro to Shape Carving, and what it's really about, it's less design focused, it's less of the sort of esoteric stuff that I really geek out about. I like that stuff. But this one's more focused on fundamentals. It's only going to be 4 weeks long. We meet on Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. So right at lunchtime, here in California. My hope is that some people could get in there during their lunch break. On Tuesdays, we're going to go over a demo and assign the homework, describe what you're going to do. We're going to do hard stops at 2 p.m. My classes, I go long, man. I get too long-winded with this shit, and I'm really working on it. So this time around, we have a hard stop at 2, and then that's why we have the second class on Friday. So I don't have to go so long. Friday is feedback. So you come back, everybody's had some time to do their work, just paint overs. We're just talking about what you did, and that's it. And we end that one in 2 hours too. So, and again, that's just focus on like how I think about shadow shapes, like why I use the values I do, how I think about form, like when I'm, doing something like this, I'm kind of just like drawing in, in the void, like how I'm doing it. That's like not just how I'm doing it, like how I'm thinking about it in my mind. Like that stuff is some of the most important, it's like part of the most important thing, part of what I'm doing is it's not that I'm just making it up. I'm just sort of visualizing forms, as I'm doing this, as that rolls over and, that little pit between the teeth, that like little like space under the cheekbone and, this part, this like edge, this harder edge as you move down across that like muscle on the jaw. It's like, it's that stuff that we'll go over is like how I'm thinking about it.
The things that
there's a bunch of exercises to help you guys, learn to do the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you don't necessarily realize has been thought about. You look at something and you think, oh, it's such a streamlined design and it's so simple. It's rarely actually simple. It's a very conscious decision to make something read as simple. And it takes a little bit to actually communicate that. And,
I realized like when I first started trying to, just like doing stuff on social media and stuff with Stan, it was like, I kind of like launched all that with this idea like, oh, shape carver. And a lot of people, as I started to gain some traction, like I wanted to like sculpt and kit bash and do all these fun things that I was excited about with people or excited about sharing with people. And I still love all those things. In all my classes, we do some 3D. However, I noticed that most people like didn't give a shit about that. Just want like, Scott, we just want you to shape carve. Like, just show us how to do that. And I kind of realized, like, for one thing, I didn't want to. I was kind of like, oh man, I do that all day. Like that's boring, but I also realized that I don't know if I had really formalized how to communicate that information to people in a way that would satisfy me, that I would feel good about, like setting up workshops to do. Maybe, maybe some of it, but a lot of it was going on somewhat intuitively under the hood. And I needed to address that. I needed to really like do some deep thinking. That's really what I've been doing is I'm going to do a book in the future about all this stuff. And it's just, how do I think about it? And, so yeah, that's what this is about, is beginning to share that information with others. So
if you if you guys have heard anything that you like here, you should go check that out at the link here, the link in the description, and the link in the chat here. But you can also trust not just me, not just Scott, but you can trust Kyle Webster in the chat saying nobody does it better than Scott.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, bro. Hey, congratulations to Kyle too on the stuff with Procreate. That's pretty cool. It's pretty ballsy, dude. Like taking the hard stance with fucking Adobe. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kyle's doing some super awesome things. Kyle moved from working with Adobe to working over at Procreate. If you guys want to find out more about what he's doing, the name that he's got right there, Kyle T. Webster, that's what he is on all the socials. You should go follow him. He's doing good things.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Anything else you want to say before we bid everyone adieu?
Not really. I mean, whenever I do these things, I'm always like, oh, I could do it better. I could say, I don't know. I could just iterate forever and try to make it cooler. But
you'll post more on your socials about it afterwards, I'm sure.
But I guess last thing I want to say is thank you for showing up. Thanks for spending the time. If you guys do your own crazy dragon, do a dragon. If you guys actually want a bit of an assignment, do a dragon xenomorph. If you do, if you tag me in it, I'll share it in my stories. I share it around with friends and stuff. So please do that. I look forward to seeing what you do. Thanks for your encouragement of my son. Thanks for encouraging me. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your summer. And I look forward to seeing some of you in the workshop coming up.
Yeah, it's a joy to get to hang out with you guys. Thank you all for being here. There is one last thing I do want to mention for you guys. There is a brand new Twitch channel for Proko. You can watch a bunch of rerun streams right now. It's just like this 24/7 kind of stream that features a bunch of stuff that we have on other platforms here and there currently. But sometimes you don't necessarily know what you want to pick. You want to try out something new. It's the joy of getting to go to a hotel and just turn on Nickelodeon, and you're like, I forgot that cartoon. It's that for art lessons. We want to do something like that and let you guys kind of like just watch along together.
Hell yeah, that's smart, man. I've been wanting you guys to do that for a long time, actually. Like Proko should be like a channel, like a full channel on when I go onto my TV, and I'm looking, do I want to watch Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever? Like I want to have Proko TV, and it's just I could just sit there and watch it for hours. Have that on for my son,
We're working on it. So you can find that on Twitch. A bunch more things will be added there in the future. Don't let them know I told you this, but we will end up putting up some premium lessons into some of those things that you would normally have to pay for. So please go check those out. But first and foremost, go check out Scott's stuff. There's a super cool stuff coming up. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you later.
All right. Bye, guys. Take care. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate you, man.
You.
All right. Bye, homie.